According to a 2017 study, 1 in 10 girls in the UK are unable to afford period products. 1 in 7 were unaware as to what was happening at the start of their first period. For Leeds-based charity Freedom for Girls and its founder Tina Leslie, this is a problem too big to ignore. The group of 7 work tirelessly to ensure that people are educated about periods, and believes that nobody should go without needed products in the 21st century.
People don't think that actually if you can't afford food, you can't afford products, period products. I mean, I started the project in Kenya, about 5, 6 years ago, um, realizing that actually in Kenya, 60% of girls and women don't have access. And then, yeah, about 4 years ago, it sort of like it happened. It didn't happen in the UK just overnight. It was just that I discovered it in, there was a colleague who worked in a school who called me and said, Tina, I know what you do in Kenya, but it's happening here. And then through a chain of events, we basically got interviews from the schoolgirls, and then the whole of the world's press descended on me and saying, "How can we have?" It was absolutely ridiculous,
Yeah.
and it was a case of oh wow, how can period poverty happen in the sixth biggest economy in the world, and how disgusting is it? And because it was like, how could this happen? But people don't realize, because it is such a a taboo subject to talk about, even though half the population menstruate. So yeah.
Before your trip to Kenya then, sort of 5 or 6 years ago, were you aware of the issues? Or was it that when you came home and you started talking to people that's when you realised?
I think I knew, as you sort of know about it anyway, because I mean, I was quite interested in, because I'd gone to Kenya and to support a friend who was doing another project, which was a mother and baby project for a couple of years, and and I sort of like thought, why are these kids missing school and stuff like that? And you just Google it and think, what's going on, and then you found out. And the reason why I'm so passionate about it is because, like, when I was 11, I was on a French exchange trip. I mean, we're talking 40 odd years ago, and I started my period for the very first time, and I was in the middle of the channel, and I was going to stay with a family, and it was a boy, and he had 3 brothers, and basically I had to spend the week using toilet paper and sleeping on the floor because I didn't want to ruin the beautiful French sheets. um, so I remember that, like, sort of 40 years ago, and thought, this is terrible. I mean, that was just a week for me, but people have this happening, every month for some, girls and women. And I thought, what, that's what I need to do to sort this out. And even over the years, if you ask any woman, we've all had an accident. I think men sort of think women can control their periods like you can control your wee, and it is not like that at all. There's nothing you can do about it. Yeah, so again, that's a lot of ignorance as well, and also education. But again, it says, being grown up as having a periods as a taboo subject. So yeah.
Why is that, like, in the 21st century? Why is it still, from your point of view, why is it still such a massive stigma surrounding it?
You know what? I don't know. I really don't know. I think it's because we don't educate properly. We don't educate early enough. The period talk that we get at school and things like that is a little bit, like, I mean, I've talked to teachers and they hate doing it, especially if they're a man. And it's world over. It's not just here in the UK. It's all world over that you just do not talk about periods. It's also, it's almost classed as a, like this dirty, horrible thing that happens, and it's not. It's just that it's a natural bodily function that we all go through. And I think, for us as, as menstruating people, I think, it's almost like handed down through generations, or don't talk to don't talk to your dad about it, or but it also has always been secretive, and it shouldn't be. And I think since it sort of hit the headlines in the UK in this 2017, it's got a lot more it's out there a lot more. We have a vagina museum now, and we have people, there's not just me tackling period poverty, there's a lot of other people doing it now. So it's forever in the press as well. Hopefully we try and get it in the press as much as possible, and talk about period poverty. And since lockdown, it's just been horrendous. It's just, the more, our So a lot of ours is like delivery. So providing people with period products, and it went up 5 times, 4 or 5 times over lockdown. So we were delivering 500 packs a week. It went up to like 2,000 at one point. And we had to change the way we were doing it because of obviously lockdown. Because we used to deliver to community centres and places where women met and things like that. So we had to do it a little bit differently, but we still got it out there.
And I know this is a very probably quite ignorant question, but just so it's sort of in black and white, what does period poverty actually mean with regards to the UK? I know that obviously, being able to afford period products and stuff like that. Is it more than that? Is there?
Yeah, I mean, it's lack of access to period products for whatever reason. So that could be because you can't afford them, because you were in an abusive relationship or a coercive relationship, because you haven't got enough money. Maybe you're a refugee or an asylum seeker who doesn't have any recourse to funds, and you just don't get money for hygiene products. You're homeless. I suppose any reason, like say with the coercive relationship, if the partner holds the purse strings, and it's a way of controlling you not having period products because you're not going out, sort of thing. And that a lot of it is to do with poverty, but a lot of it is again, we've had like when it's education as well. So when we were interviewing these girls in 2017, one of them said they'd had a period for 2 years and didn't know what it was. So it's ignorance of your own body or education about, and she just managed it for 2 years on her own, not knowing even what it was. So yes, it is lack of access to period products, but also there's lots of other strings attached as well. Women fleeing from fleeing from domestic violence, you just go with nothing. You haven't got any access to products. Women in coming out of prison, things like that. So yeah, it's a massive issue, massive issue. And people say, "Oh God, they're only 50p." It's like, well, yeah, but if you've got 50p and you need to buy a loaf of bread to feed your kids, what are you going to do?
Yeah, yeah. Earlier this year, again, obviously you'll know more about this than I do, but earlier this year, obviously the government said that they're going to scrap the tampon tax, and they said that they want to put free sanitary products in schools and colleges and
Period
hospitals and
products,
stuff.
not sanitary products. Please call them what they are. Period products.
Period products.
Sanitary towels
Apologies.
sounds. I mean, it's almost like we're trying to change the narrative here because sanitary is like unclean. So, if you think about sanitary, it's like an unclean, unhygienic thing to do, and actually it's not. So, we're trying to change the way we talk about period products and menstrual products. We call them what they are. It's almost like, yeah, I mean, that I think it was, so sanitary products was almost like businesses, people who sort of produce products to make them unsanitary, so you bought more. So it's almost like a business thing, and it's still a big thing. People still call them sanitary products, but it just makes me,
So okay, so period products then. So they said they'll put period products in schools and colleges and stuff. Obviously that's a positive step, I suppose, forwards. Is that enough to combat
no.
this, or is there
It's
more that needs
not.
to be
I mean, the
done?
thing is, I think there's only been like a 40 or 50% uptake in schools. Last year all the schools were closed. How were girls going to get period products? We were asked by schools to provide them. And we would say, because actually you couldn't get to school, we were saying to the schools, please put them in, the girls who are on free school meals, put a packet of pads, in the sandwich bags, because some of them came and picked up lunches. But yeah, they've missed out on the education last year as well. The tampon tax, most of the supermarkets actually cut the tax on them anyway years ago. And actually, it was an EU derivative, the tampon tax, and it didn't mean a lot at all. It's just the government made it a big thing, and it was going to end anyway. I mean, we obviously helped campaign to get the free period products in schools, which was great. We got it January 2020. Obviously, then COVID hit, so a lot of schools, probably didn't know about it, or they were too busy doing other stuff. It's an opt-in, not an opt-out. So you have to opt in. You have to find. I think it's like I mean, it's quite easy to get products once you want them, and the good thing about it was that they also did environmentally friendly products like menstrual cups and washable reusables. But obviously, you need the education to go with those as well, which obviously that's not going to happen. So yeah, yes, it was a good it was a good shout. Hopefully, they'll still continue it because they might turn around and say, actually, because not enough schools have signed up for it, we're gonna, it hasn't worked. But it obviously has worked. I mean, some of the schools don't even realise that they've got, children with who are suffering period poverty or menstrual equity in their schools. I mean, I've just had an email yesterday on a Friday from a school in Sheffield saying, we've got some girls who need some period products. It's like, well, why don't you know there's free period products in schools? You just need to make a phone call or, go online.
So
So
still almost a
yeah,
year on, they're still unaware of.
yeah, yeah,
So
absolutely.
again, I suppose that comes into kind
Mm.
of again, I guess talking about it
Lack
and
of vision. Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
um,
yeah. I mean, we've done like, loads of big shout outs on social media and stuff, because we just cannot, for the amount of products we're doing, we can't supply schools as well. We were supplying schools before January 2020, but obviously with the massive increase of products, because a lot of ours are donated, products, which has been really good.
yeah. I think talking a bit about what you said earlier regarding I think there's a stat here. 1 in 7 girls said that they didn't know what was happening when they were going through their period for the first time. I think that was a stat from 2017.
Yeah, it's probably the same. It's probably more now. Because the whole cohort of kids have missed, that period talk last year.
So regarding to lockdown and things like that, for a young girl going through that for the first time, away from maybe female friends, away from maybe female teachers and stuff, what would that experience be like for someone going through that for the first time?
Well, do you know what? It's horrendous because I remember it 40 odd years ago. The first time I knew a little bit about it, but I was very ashamed. I was very embarrassed. I didn't talk to a teacher or anything like that. So it is, and also if you think about, at the time when you are, going, that time when you're going into adolescence and things like that, your hormones start. You don't have, sometimes you don't have a really good relationship with your parents, or if you're living with your dad or something like that, or a carer that you haven't got a good relationship. It's really, really stressful and emotional time, I think, for kids. And, maybe, they're not coming forward, and they're just using, like the girls in the school, socks or, old, toilet paper or whatever. I mean, I remember talking to a school saying we always know that somebody started the period because the toilet paper goes missing. When we do education in Kenya, I always try and get the boys involved as well, because there's a massive issue around there. Education around periods and about what they are, um, needs to come from a younger age, but it also needs to be, educated within workplaces. We're trying to set up this program called Period Positive Spaces. So going into companies and talking to, managers about periods and about what, whether you've got, if one of your staff has got endometriosis or PCOS or heavy periods or, pain, just make it normalized. And actually, if you can buy toilet paper and soap for your, for your men's toilets, why don't you just purchase some period products for your women as well, and that will help, because we've all had accidents, and it's embarrassing. I think, yeah, a lot more education, a lot more. I mean, even for like older men, I talk to men, and they want the ground to open. You can see them like shrinking. They want
Yeah.
the ground to open up. I remember speaking to the principal of Leeds University about period poverty. His face, it was a picture. But yeah, it's an issue, and it's going to be an issue for a long time. We are slowly, opening up more and talking about periods. But again, we've got a lot of activists around that talking about them, but it's still, massively massive taboo subject.
So a bit about the pandemic, but then also I kind of want to quickly touch on your work in Africa as well, because I find that really interesting as well. But regarding the pandemic,
Hmm.
where we are right now, as we're coming out of it and we're sort of coming out of lockdown and things, um,
Mm.
over the past 5 years, obviously you've been doing a lot of work. Where we stand right now, Are we in a good situation? Are we in a bad situation?
We're in a terrible situation. Well, the thing is, it's all right. We're coming out of lockdown, which is fantastic, but there's a lot of people still in financial crisis. Absolutely financial crisis on the floor. It's okay saying, "Oh yeah, you're on furlough and you get 80% of your salary," but actually, if 60% of your salary is rent, 20% is your bills, where's the other 20% coming from? Your food or your period products? Again, with universal credits, you had to wait 5 weeks. You still have to wait 5 weeks. You can get an advance, but again, unfortunately, you then get it taken off over the year. Again, there's no jobs around. People are trying to get back onto work. We're still not out of this lockdown yet. There's still, people haven't opened up. People realise that actually they don't need as many staff. There's been a lot of people made redundant. If you think about all the clubs and things like that, Mission, and I mean, my daughter, she works for Fibre.
All
She
right, yeah,
works in Fibre, and yeah,
yeah,
her and a boyfriend. So they've been really lucky. They've been one of, I think, five in the company that have been on furlough for a year nearly.
right, right,
But everybody else, they got laid off because Mission closed and things like that. So there's a lot of students are in real issues because obviously they were working in cafes and things like that over lockdown, and there was no cafes open, and that's how you subsidised your your whatever it is, your loan. I know that and then if their parents had maybe lost their jobs and things like that, they couldn't help them. So there's a lot of students in real dire straits. I work with a lot of food banks, not as well as Slung Low, a few others in Hare Hills, and they're, I mean, like on a Saturday in Hare Hills, I do a food bank in help at St Aidan's Church, and we get about 130 people in about 2 hours coming through the door. So it's not just not going to go away because we're opening up. There's still, I mean, we call it like the new financially insecure almost, and you need to tackle the poverty, and then everything else will help. We're going to have period poverty until we get rid of poverty. It's all right. The government's saying we're going to get rid of period poverty by 2030. It's a load of rubbish. Again, in Kenya, you were saying about Kenya, that's been really badly hit by lockdowns. They haven't had as many deaths or infections as we have, but they locked down because they haven't got the healthcare infrastructure over there, and they've been really hard hit by no jobs. Basically really hard. A lot of the kids were out of school for a year. We were still doing outreaches, small outreaches. So over there, we actually produce washable reusables. So we have a workshop over there that sews them. We have a lot of teenage pregnancies. Like I was saying before, education, no education. We've delivered like about, I don't know, quite a few thousand packs, out into the rural areas over the last year since lockdown, and we're going to do 3 on Friday as well. So we deliver education and the period packs, and the washable reusables that we use, they last 3 years.
right, right. So it's about kind of almost,
So it's very more sustainable. So
yeah.
we're on about sustainability, really. We have workshops here as well, and I was really lucky. I actually got to Kenya in January.
Mm.
So we did a lot of, I think we did over 700 packs while I was out there. So that was really good.
And I was reading that you said that over 10,000 children took part in a workshop or in workshops in the time that you've been doing them. Um, how does that make you feel knowing that you've made that difference to that many lives?
Oh, well, amazing actually, because you should, when we actually give the packs to the girls, they're absolutely overjoyed because every month they are using ash dung bits out of their mattresses, they're using leaves, they're using corn husks, they're sleeping with men to get money to buy pads so they can get to school. They miss a lot of school. So yeah, I mean, I've got lots of lovely videos showing girls saying how everybody forgets us, and we're so pleased that we're getting these pads, because we give them a couple of pairs of knit pants as well, and they've never had anything new. And also, obviously, because of lockdown, we give them a reusable mask as well. So it's a lot about sustainability out there, because one-use products, you've got 2,000 kids in a school and 2 holes in the ground, for a toilet. So it's really unhygienic anyway. I think, making a difference is what I do really. Like I say, I keep remembering back 40 odd years ago when it happened to me once, for the whole week. And, just how, lucky these, and we need to do more and more and more. We need to tackle period poverty worldwide, because, if you look at the more girls that are educated in a country, the richer the country is. A lot of girls in Kenya just drop out of school when they start their periods because they can't manage them, and they get so embarrassed about leaking, and because they're not using, proper products, they just get ridiculed all the time. Or if they're using like a rag or something like that, they're shuffling around, and they're concentrating more on it if they're going to get up and leak than actually what's going on the blackboard, sort of thing. It's all right saying more girls need education, but more girls need education, but they also need to manage their periods. In third world and developing countries, that's why girls miss out on education. There's a lot of other challenges as well, but the main probably one in third world and developing countries is lack of education, because they're missing a week every month due to their periods because they can't manage them properly. Which it's a basic human right, really, to have access to something to manage your periods, because you can't function without them. If it was a man having a period, we'd have sorted it by now. Put it that way.
I feel, and I think it makes me feel quite shameful as a guy, and like I said, 22 years old. This is the first proper conversation. I think when I was in primary school, I remember the teachers bringing out a box of tampons and going, "Right, boys, you go play football for half an hour," and then we didn't think anything of it.
Which shouldn't be. They should be.
But,
yeah. They should be involved in it. Yeah, we're doing some education today in a school in South Leeds, actually. We're saying, can we come into schools and educate your kids, because we know your teachers don't like it. So yeah, hopefully now lockdown's easing, we might be able to get into some more schools. But we're only a tiny charity trying to do massive things. There's only not many of us, but yeah, we're trying our best.
After 5 years of working in the area, Tina knows that there's still a long way to go until we have a fairer society. But as we emerge from another pandemic lockdown, the number of those falling into period poverty might begin to grow. Those at Freedom for Girls, however, will continue to tackle the problem one day at a time.